Hello, football fans, and welcome back to our away leg, our part B of our chat with Anthony Caceres. As always, make sure you give us a like and follow on social media and jump onto Spotify, podcast apps, and YouTube as well. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy part B, the away leg of our chat with Sydney FC star Anthony Caceres. All right, so that sort of happened. Melbourne City moving now into Sydney. How did this move come about?
Yeah, obviously wasn't playing at City. And we're looking for a club. I had to play. I was mid-20s, I think, 26 or something at the time. So I had to be playing, and told my agent I got to get out of here. He started to look around, and Sydney were interested. I remember getting a call from Steve Corica at the time, and immediately we got on well. He seemed like a top guy, and he said, I'm a fan of the way you play football, and I'd love for you to come over. And that was enough for me, to be honest. Sydney calling, biggest club. They were extremely successful already, and I thought, I'll be surrounded by good players in a good environment, a successful environment with a winning mentality, and that would get me playing at my best. So I did whatever I needed to do to make that move happen. I came over to Sydney, I think it was on minimum wage, because the mid-season transfer, for the rest of the season I took like close to nothing to come. I moved back home. It was another one of those moments, similarly to when I tried out for the Mariners youth, where I had to make it work. I was extremely focused, and given that I was playing in my home city with my family watching, it was even more motivating to make it work.
Yeah, of course. And that was actually what I was going to touch on was, how did it feel playing for really it's your hometown club? Like, from when the A-League started, there was no one in Sydney. Yeah. How did it feel to have your family there and your mates there, and then sort of every week? Whereas when you're at Melbourne or wherever else, it might have been people travelling every now and then to come and watch. But how did you and your family feel? Being able to be there every week.
No, it was amazing. We went to Sydney games pretty often when I was younger. My mum was able to get tickets through work, and we'd make the trip from out here in Bosley Park, Fairfield West at the time, to Moore Park to watch him play. It was the first experience of live football, really, that I had, and so that really stuck with me. I always had a place for Sydney. Every time we played them as an away team at Allianz, it was always exciting to me. It was something about just being my city that I enjoyed playing there, and so I got to play there after coming from City, and it was special. I remember my debut. My parents actually were abroad, but Danny, my cousin, came. My sister went, and just seeing familiar faces in the crowd, it was awesome. I just felt right at home from the beginning. I was just buzzing to be here.
Yeah. No, it's unreal. So obviously, you've gone on there to become a real, I'll say, stalwart of the club. Like, you're in the team every week. Like, you're doing well. Won some trophies. Played against PSG, as you mentioned before, and then the All Stars comes up as well, and you get picked in the All Stars team playing against Barcelona. Like, must be a dream come true, those sort of moments. So if you had to pick one that sort of sticks out, so either trophy or a game in particular or something, is there anything that you go, man, that was wild, like that was the one?
It's got to be lifting the trophies, I think. The first one that I won, when we won over in Perth, was very special, because obviously the first half of that year I spent at Melbourne City not playing, and completely, isolated from the team and the club, to being playing an important role in Sydney's success of that trophy. Sim de Jong was injured a fair bit when I'd come in, so I found myself with plenty of opportunities to play. And I thought, I did extremely well when I was given that chance. So I played very often in the 6 months that I was here. The first 6 months, given we had Champions League too. I got a couple of important assists. I remember against Wanderers victory. I brought it against Shanghai. So I really felt that I just was a key figure in the team quite quickly. And I felt that I gained the trust of the playing group and the coach, which was very important to me. And with that, I think the fans warmed to me as well as the season went on. So that first win was, really, really an important moment to keep me on track in my career. After a tough initial part of the season, to win a trophy at the end was kind of like FU, to the people that that wanted to, not wanted to hold me back, but ended up holding me back at the start of that year. So that was probably one that stands out. And the following year we won everything as well. So and
validates that move.
Yeah,
as well,
exactly. It just gave me the confidence that I am where I belong, and to share those memories with great teammates and friends is something that a lot of players don't get to do. In a few years when I retire, I'm going to look back at these memories and get together with the boys and say, hey, remember, winning that.
Yeah. Can we chat about the All-Stars game?
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that's been done a lot, but to have Barcelona in Australia, regardless of if it was the strongest team, not the strongest team, the guys, whatever, that was brutal. I was at that game. See a packed stadium, and like the All-Stars team was pretty much an All-Stars team. It was most of the best performing players in the league.
Totally.
What was the build up like? Obviously, Dwight York coached, and that sort of led him into the MacArthur gig as well. So what was it like spending a bit of time with him, and what was the prep like for that? Was it a we win camp, or was it just a hey, this is this person and this person go on the field? Like how was that? How was that?
We had a few days together before the game. I think it was like four days maybe. My personal preparation for that game was horrific. Like we didn't make finals with Sydney, so we had stopped 2 or 3 weeks before. We had our end of season night out. Then I had my sister-in-law's wedding, so like I've been on the drink a fair bit. And so I went into camp like completely underdone, completely. I hadn't gone for a run. So I went in there, just for the vibes. It was we had a good, talented team. Dwight was great. I think he handled the camp extremely well. He didn't come in and as an authority figure and just demand, and he led the group calmly, gave us plenty of confidence that we were talented enough to put on a good show against one of the world's best teams, and we did. We performed extremely well. We were in front at one point, and like you said, it's Barcelona, and they had a very good team out there. Some of the world's best were on the field. Busquets was playing, Dani Alves, Dembele. They were incredible. Gavi as well. So these players were starting every week in La Liga. They had won World Cups and everything. And we performed great. I thought I had a great game individually too. My touches were very good. I didn't, feel the pressure of the occasion. Maybe because I was super relaxed from the previous weeks. And I think we embraced the challenge and put on a great show and proved to the people here that majority in the stadium were obviously going for Barcelona, but proved to them that look at the talent we have in this league. The players extremely capable of performing at a very high level, and it was a great night in Australian football.
Yeah, I think it was a great advertisement for the game here.
Absolutely.
And you personally, I've mentioned this to you before, but I thought you were absolutely excellent. And we were talking about how some guys, people might go into their shell in moments like that, but you just weren't phased at all. Like you were as calm as you are right now. And I just remember them pressing everywhere, and they just could not. I don't think you turned the ball over till like the 70th minute or something. Like they could not get near you. Every time they came, you got out. And I literally walked away, and I was with Danny, your cousin, and I was like, mate, Barcelona are going to sign him. Like, I swear, they can't touch him.
First
like,
Man City, then Barca.
Imagine the CV there. You know what I mean? Well, he did play for Man City, so. But so yeah, it must have been a great experience.
No, it was awesome. It was definitely one of the highlights of my career.
Did you get the swap jerseys that game with him?
I did. I got Araujo, however you say it.
Yeah.
Him being Uruguayan, I went for his, of course. But I had a brief chat with Busquets and Sim De Jong's brother. You know, what's his name? Luke De Jong.
Yep.
Obviously, because I had played with his brother at Sydney. So chat to a few of them. I had a brief chat to Xavi walking into the sheds after the game.
Did he remember you from?
Well, he looked at me like kind of saying, "That's a familiar face," you know. So I'd like to think he did. I highly doubt he did.
If I ever get it on the podcast, I'll ask the question. You know?
But we had a good brief chat with him, and just to be around these guys, having a chat after a game was pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I thought it'd be an amazing experience, and like I said, it was a great advertisement for football here that you guys competed, you know, admirably,
sure.
and
Absolutely.
It didn't look like it was miles apart. A lot of people were speaking about, you know, the young boys who came off the bench and did really well. It was obviously a great opportunity for them too to show what they can do. So, and I think it did show that yes, obviously Barcelona are the best teams in the world.
Barcelona, after all.
But the gap is not as big as some people think.
Correct.
Like, you could have gone out and lost that game 6-0. Everyone would have gone, Barcelona.
Yeah.
And the A-League's no good.
Yeah.
Like, I thought you guys did excellent. So, well done on that one. Just want to move into a little bit just general football chat, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And then we'll move on to a bit of family and stuff as well. So,
nice.
What would you say, what's the most difficult part of being a footballer, a professional footballer?
It's probably doing all the right things all the time, you know. It's very demanding. Like, it obviously rules you out of a lot of social gatherings and important events and stuff. And when you are at those things, to be disciplined and not, you know, drink or eat like crap. Because it's a job that demands your attention 24/7, you know. That way, that's the only way you're going to be prepared, basically, to play every game. That's probably the hardest bit, you know. I think I've learned to deal with setbacks quite well over time. When I was younger, like I said, losses, being benched, it would really affect me, given I lived alone a lot as well. I didn't have, you know, maybe my wife there initially in Melbourne, you know, or moments in Dubai or stuff like that. But, you know, over time, and obviously, you know, kids give you perspective on the important things in life, and they keep you grounded and focused. They've really helped me.
Well, they don't care if you've been benched or not when you walk in.
Sure, you need to
switch into dad mode.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they deserve you at your best, so you can't be down when you go home and contemplate life too much. You know, you just got to get on with things.
Yeah. I think how has your sort of family and social circles been with? Because I'm sure you've missed weddings, you've missed parties, and all sorts of things. How have they been sort of adjusting to that? Because it's not everybody understands, you know, like, this is your job and I can't go to your wedding because I'm playing tomorrow and I'm in Brisbane or I'm wherever, or I need to prep. Like, how have you had any difficult moments that way, or is everyone sort of...
everyone gets it.
Yeah.
My missus played, thankfully. She gets it. She's really cool. Hats off to her. Everyone gets it. Look, football in our family, I'd say, has always been the most important thing. You know, it's kind of... it's a gel in a way, you know. Like, me and my old man, we can sit and talk about football all day, every day. Like I said, Helen played for years. She played for the Wanderers, for Melbourne City. She knows what travel and commitments are, so she gets it. And so it hasn't really been an issue. Obviously, you want to be at important events, significant events for families, like weddings, but it's part of the job that you have to embrace, you know. And it's not a job that everyone gets the opportunity to do, so you got to remind yourself how lucky you are. And
you're a long time retired as well. Like, you'll have time to do all those things and whatnot. So,
absolutely.
But like you said, for now, it's about staying disciplined and following through.
It's a short career.
That's it. So, if you had to pick one sort of key attribute around yourself that separates you from other players, what do you think? What do you think makes you a different player to? Because you're not the standard Australian footballer, if that makes sense. And no disrespect to, you know, the more athletic side of it.
Yeah.
Not saying that you're not athletic either, but you play football in a different way.
Been. Yeah.
And players of you are a rare commodity in our league anyway. So what do you think it is that sort of people go, oh, Caceres, he can do this and that, you know?
Yeah, I think my key attribute has always been just being comfortable on the ball in just about any situation. You know, we touched on the Barcelona game when we were getting pressed. I didn't feel stressed, you know, in those moments where I was getting pressured. I've always kind of been a relaxed character. I don't know if that's a direct translation to my style of play on the field, where I don't really, you know, feel pressured. But I have a lot of confidence in my touch and ability in those tight areas, and I think that that's probably what separates, you know, my game from the general, I suppose, player. In saying that, that alone isn't enough to succeed in football. I've played with so many talented ball players who, in the long run, couldn't keep up basically with the game. And thankfully, I was able to adapt and evolve as a player and kind of work on these attributes, these physical attributes, to keep myself in the game. And, you know, it's, again, like I touched on Warren Joyce, for example, he provoked that change in me at an important time, I think. And these days, it's a game that demands you're physically at 100%. It's very transition. You know, teams like to press, and you need to be able to do this and then be fresh enough to execute your style of play with the ball, which is
in the 88th minute when, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, that's a real challenge. That's why I think we gravitate towards more physical attributes than, you know, technical players. Just because of this factor, basically, that the game has become extremely physical and demanding. So you can't ignore that side of it, basically.
Yep. And do you put that sort of technical, that calmness, that ability, do you put that down to anything? Like, I know you played a bit of futsal as a kid as well.
Yeah.
Things like that? Or is it just in the backyard or you know, playing with older people? Is there anything that sticks out?
I think my old man's my biggest influence in football and in life, but we're talking football. So his vision of the game was always based around the ball. You know, he came from South America, an era of football where there was an abundance of technical players. He saw the greats. He saw Maradona. He saw players in South America that the rest of the world probably wouldn't have heard of, but in their moment were brilliant technically. And so he passed that way of thinking on to me. We spent a lot of time in the backyard training, but only with the ball, juggling, dribbling, whatever it may be. And so, you know, my kind of instincts were always to try to protect the ball, to have a cushioned touch and remain calm. And, you know, I'm lucky that growing up I had a great bunch of mates that we'd go to the park 3-4 times a week and just play football. After school, I'd walk to King Park, and there would be maybe 10 of us, I guess, 10 to 12, sometimes more, sometimes less, but I'd go almost every day. And this lasted from when I was in year 5, I reckon. So I would have been like 10 or 11 until I was 14, you know. So it's like 4 or 5 years of playing just raw park football with your mates who will kick the crap out of you. And, you know, I think that, you know, allowed me to express myself, challenge myself with skills or whatever. YouTube was a thing also back then, so you jump on, watch Ronaldinho and try to mimic whatever he did. And stuff like that. So I was lucky, you know, I had that chance to express myself regularly. And obviously I played a fair bit of futsal growing up for Sydney City. And, you know, I think that even further challenged me in tight areas and to trust myself in certain situations on the field. But again, I put everything down to the way my old man kind of brought me up, and, you know, the way we share our view on football has really molded me as a player.
Oh, super interesting. And I think you being one of those players that people enjoy watching, and they appreciate those, you know, the fast feet and the movement in between the lines. And I think turning and dribbling, I think something that we probably lack in this country is people who can dribble through the middle of the pitch. We've got wingers who can go in behind and whatever, but dribbling through that middle is, one, it's good to watch, but two, it gives you so many options.
No, for sure. It opens the game up. Yeah. It, like you said, it's not something you see too often. And in world football, it's not really, a common attribute. I think De Jong is a player that does it extremely well for Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the ability to pick it up deep and drive. It's a shame that, sometimes that flies under the radar because he might not show up on the 3-minute highlight reel on Optus Sport. Yeah. But if you sit and watch the game, he blows you away with his calmness and his ability just to drive the team up the field, attract players to release other people. And so I think it's a very important part of the game. I still think, given how physical the game has become, that it's players like him and others who are comfortable on the ball that really can make a difference in certain situations.
Yeah, and he's also probably like yourself. You could probably plop him anywhere on the pitch and he'd do your job. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. And you're probably the same. Yeah. Even right or left back, and still be like, he's still be comfortable on the ball. He's going to keep the ball, whatever, and you can still compete physically. So it's one of those. There's not many players, I suppose, that you think you could probably do that with. So I think that's a real credit to you, and obviously old man, and what he's sort of instilled in you growing up. So I think that's a big credit. Big shout out for Dad. Yeah,
Jose.
Yes, man himself. You touched on it earlier. Especially when you first moved into Sydney, you were really happy to sort of get the approval of the players in the team. You were moving into a team that was a successful team.
Yeah.
What do you think, like in terms of separating that group from others, and you even spoke about your little bond with Westfields as well, how important is that team camaraderie? Like how important is people being on the same page and not necessarily, you don't have to be best mates with people, but getting along off the pitch, and I suppose being able to, I'm sure in that team there would have been people who would have called you out if you were bludgeoned or not doing the right thing, but you're not taking that to heart. It's to improve you. And you even spoke about Warren Joyce challenged you.
Yeah.
How important is that as a team, as a collective, to build that sort of camaraderie? And I'm sure you've been in some great changing rooms and some not so great changing rooms. How important do you think that is, and the effect on results?
I think trust is the biggest thing, to be honest. Camaraderie is great. Like, for example, the last couple of years at Sydney, we've had a great group of guys, but we haven't been as successful as we wanted to be, When I first came to the club and the couple of years that followed, I think there was just a trust, in the team that you knew everyone was going to do exactly what they needed to do. And that allowed you to simply focus on your job and make sure that you were responsible for what you had to do. And there was this unspoken obligation, I suppose, from everyone that drove us to perform every week. We thoughtlessly kind of won the league. In my second year here, we won the Premier's Play and the Championship. And there wasn't too much thought about what we were doing. It was just trust that everyone was doing everything to prepare for the game, and we'd go out and do exactly what we needed in that moment. And there wasn't too much yelling or like there was no need. There was this understanding and trust that allowed us to go out and just play freely and do our jobs. And we just kind of breezed through the league that season. And camaraderie is great, but I think sometimes when you get on too well, it might blind you from responsibilities or might hold you back from addressing problems that need to be addressed. So
fine line.
That's why I think trust is probably the most important thing. Trust that if you say something to someone, they're not gonna take it to heart, or you trust them to react in the right way. And
well, they say one of my favorite quotes, so they trust and rapport is built from repeated positive interactions. So when you're on the pitch and things are going well, or people are doing the right things and you trust in them a way that you're going to build that, I suppose, as well. And then you probably have you're in a safe enough space too, if something needs to be said, to say it and know it's not going to, I don't know if it's a time thing as well, but it's like the new boys coming through, you probably talk to them differently to how those older guys spoke to you.
Of course, it's obviously a different generation. We have a lot of young boys now coming through, but it's our responsibility as the ones that have been here for longer and been in the game for longer to guide them in the right direction. Obviously we're not in a great position at the moment, but it's not on the young boys. They have nothing to do with where we're at the moment. They're learning. They're just only getting started. It's on us older ones to really guide them out of this situation. And
Yeah. So just on that sort of team building, I suppose. Do you guys run fine systems?
we do.
Yeah. Who's the fine master? I always love hearing about this.
It's always been Ryan Grant.
Yeah.
But he's passed the baton on to Joel King and Patrick Wood.
Double act. Yeah. And how are they going?
Yeah, good. I think King is the brains and Wood is just there for the looks, man.
To face the operation.
Yeah.
And can you tell us some of the things you guys get fined for?
Late fines, obviously.
Yep.
If you wear the same piece of clothing or shoes as someone else, that's a fine.
For both of you?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So Uniqlo tees.
I was going to say, is the rest
big
of the
risk.
Uniqlo as well?
Yeah.
So you're not wearing
a lot of us are. We are.
No, the fine.
Yeah.
Both of them look good, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And then just like leaving stuff lying around, late to physios, appointments, late to lunch, wrong kit on the day. Everything doubles on game day.
Yeah, love that.
Which is a great fundraiser.
Yeah.
Just the normal.
And where does that money go at the end of the year?
Probably like a team outing, dinner or a night out or something.
Yep.
At the end of the year, yeah.
Anyone ever get nasty about like popping a fine? Like they disagree? Like we used to have a tribunal. Like
not so much recently.
Yeah, everyone's all right.
Yeah, everyone kind of accepts it.
You can always like someone blows up, they're going to cop it.
No, for sure. You know? Yeah, you can flip at the end of the month. Double.
Is it monthly? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I don't know. Whenever they decide they want the money. Yeah, but you can flip. I did flip last time and I lost.
So double up?
Yeah, it's a big one. It's a big one, yeah.
It's the best. Everyone loves it. Everyone's getting around. Yeah. Everyone's just hoping they can lose.
That's the thing. Like, you do it, just for the laugh, but then you lose and you're like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Wrong decision.
Yeah. And I think all those things are, because obviously you're trying to also instill that discipline, being on top.
Yeah, no,
all those little bits and pieces.
Well, yeah, it's not all, about flipping and having fun and all that. It's actually holding people responsible at the same time.
Yeah, cool. All right, so we're going to just move on to a bit of family stuff, and then we've got a question from a fan, and then a few that I've prepped you for as well, which I'm really keen to hear. So, can you tell me about your family statistics? Partner, kids, what do you got? What's going on?
Wife, 2 girls.
Very good. How old are the girls?
Sophia is 3, Sienna is 1.
Very good. And how has that changed your outlook on football? I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but how has that changed from no kids to kids?
There's nothing like it, really. They've obviously changed life, not just football, but like I said, things don't affect you they affect you as much, but maybe not as long, after a loss, after a setback, whatever it is, you go home and it ends there. You got to, be the best version of yourself for your kids, for your girls. You can't be miserable and moping around like maybe I once was. And they obviously bring out a different side of you. Having 2 girls, they, I guess, bring out a tenderness in you that you probably haven't shown before. And it gives you real perspective on life and highlights the important things, which is family, happiness, health, and so on.
And I've seen on socials a lot that Sophia will go to a lot of games.
Yeah, she loves it. She loves it. Loves putting on a Sydney jersey. We take her to Football Tech, the Trefiros Academy, every Friday, and she has a blast. She's
got no choice, does she?
She hasn't got a choice. But look, we don't expect her to be.
Of course, whatever she wants to do. I'm sure.
I do wish that they obviously share the passion for the game that we have.
Yeah. And we touched on your wife Helen earlier. She played in what was then the W League. Had a big stint at the Wanderers and then Melbourne City as well. You were the first married couple to play. The research I found was to play at the same club. I don't know any others that played at all. Do you know of any other
married couple? No.
To play? No.
No idea.
It said the same club, but I think it'll be the first ever. And we touched on a little bit earlier about how that would obviously help with her understanding the commitment and all those little bits and pieces, part of it. Me and my wife, we're both teachers, and whenever we talk about teaching at home, it usually ends in an argument. Are you guys talking about football a lot? Like, is she giving you tips on, hey, Anthony, you should have like peeled out this way, or maybe check, like, is there anything of that, or is it no?
She's extremely measured, I'd say, in what she says. She knows that, I've got, I wouldn't say a temper, right? But I can get a bit shitty sometimes.
It's called a temper, Anthony. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Anyway, I'll get that temper.
Emotional. Yeah.
So yeah, she does touch on things. Obviously, her opinion is extremely valid a lot of the time. So I do try to listen. I say try because sometimes I'm not having people's opinions sometimes, you know what I mean? And yeah, she's a cool chick. She gets it, man. Like, she really gets it. So I'm pretty lucky that I have her. And like I said, her opinions actually often make sense. She obviously played at a good level and knows, what you're feeling, what it takes to prepare. She knows when I need, a bit of time off. Say on game day, she gets up with the girls. She makes sure that, I get a bit more sleep, food's ready. So she looks after me really well in that respect. And obviously, we get on great. We've been together a long time since we're at Westfields. Actually, she was a footballer at Westfields also.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been together since we were 16, and yeah, I'm grateful for her.
Yeah. And what about? You said, she might be giving you some feedback. What about your dad? Because you spoke about how much time he spent with you. Whatever. Is he still? Like, I remember I used to turn to my games, and my dad would turn the radio down as we get closer, and he's starting to,
for sure.
You know what I mean? Is that stuff, because it's different now, because you're at a professional level, you've got professional coaches and whatever, and I know 100% you're respecting your dad's opinion.
No doubt, yeah.
But are you always on the same page, or do you disagree about things?
We're just about always on the same page. He'll say things to me that I'm thinking and I might be in denial about, and he'll point them out, and I'll reflect and say, it is what it is. Like, he's spot on. He's spot on just about all the time with me. I don't know if it's because I respect him that much that I, do say that, but he often hits a nail on the head. His opinion is probably the one that I take most seriously out of anyone's, even over coaches' opinions, because my old man he's not a fan of mine, like just a fan of mine. He's always been a coach, and his opinions towards me, he'll never lie to me. He'll tell me exactly how it is, whether I play good, bad, whatever. He'll be just extremely direct. And obviously, he's respectful. He realizes that I'm a man, an adult, and, that I have limits to my patience and all that. So his opinions are always valid and on point. Growing up, obviously, I used to dread his feedback after I knew I played poorly. Get in the car on the way home, and I'd just hang my head in shame, and I'm just waiting for him to go, unleash.
Would he unleash if he was upset? Was that in Spanish or English?
No, always Spanish. Yeah. Even now, it's always Spanish. He was our coach growing up. So, he coached us up until we were 10. And sometimes in the car, Jesus Christ, I dread it, but it was funny, man. Like, I'm grateful for it because it kept me honest. It still does, It's
character building as well.
Yeah, for sure. It still does. Like, you can't lie to yourself, and obviously I can never lie to my old man. He can never lie to me. So I love the relationship we have in that sense. It's brutally honest. It's a real father-son relationship, I suppose.
Yeah. And imagine if he did the opposite and just pumped your tires all the time.
No, for
you'd
sure.
have this distorted perception of reality.
Absolutely.
Which is, you look at, young kids coming up now, and
yeah, for sure.
Well, we didn't get participation trophies or whatever, it's different. And, I think having someone like that, I'm sure it keeps you centered, and Helen as well, probably keep you very centered.
For sure. No, absolutely.
And like I said at the start, you are a very humble guy. Like, I've known you a long time, and you always make time for people. You never want to big note yourself, we'll have a laugh and a joke or whatever. But, I think having a support network like that of a wife who's played at the top level here, your dad, I've heard stories, was an amazing player himself, but obviously understands football. would help keep you grounded in
Yeah,
that way
no
as
doubt.
well.
Yeah, for sure. You can't lie to yourself, and you'll never lie to your family, you know. So,
Yeah.
you know, a player knows well and truly whether or not they've done well or underperformed or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So my last question before we dive into our little final segment is how do you pass the time beyond the pitch? So if you're not training, you're at home, you know, I'm assuming family will be a big part of it.
Mm.
What if tell me that, but also tell me what if Helen's taking the girls out to a party and you're at home on your own? How does Anthony Caceres unwind?
I like to play music. You know, I played drums throughout high school, and adopted a little bit of the keys on keyboard. So I like to kind of come up with some beats. I try sample music every now and then. And you know, obviously rewatch football as well. Like I catch up on overnight games.
Do you watch your own games a lot or not?
I do, yeah. I definitely do. There are times where I don't want to, for obvious reasons, like if we lose or play poorly. But you can't help but face the reality, you know. So I do, end up watching them back. But also, you know, I like to watch football from around the world. Obviously, EPL, La Liga. Uruguayan games, Argentinian ones. I could spend all day watching games over. But music's the real escape, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously these days I've got my responsibilities around the house, you know, with the girls and stuff. I've put together a cubby house that took a little while.
How long did that take you?
I'm not going to say. Trampoline, I've done all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So there's new challenges, you know. I try to broaden my horizons a little bit. I've read a book recently, which I've
very proud of you.
Never done.
Yeah. What did you read?
Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah.
And I like to browse on YouTube at like random things. You know, I've come fond of listening to this guy called, what's his name? Graham Hancock. He's a journalist, historian kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten into history recently. Oddly enough, in school I could not give a crap.
Yeah. And it's funny that because you find your passions,
and there's some like interesting things that I never knew, and I don't know, just kind of.
Got any facts for me? You learn anything?
No, I'm not. If I get them wrong, man, I'm not going to share. You know, it's kind of like internalized.
Something about
So like I've tried to broaden my horizons a fair bit. You know, a little bit into not philosophy, but like kind of philosophy. You know, just listening to people speak. Podcasts are great. I love listening to podcasts.
Love the Corner Flag.
Joe Rogan, obviously, Corner Flag now.
Huge.
There's this guy called Andrew Huberman, who's like a biologist or something, and he shares a lot of interesting things about, you know, performance, things that are relevant to football, like the effects of ice baths and, you know, the amount of sleep you get or whatever it is, you know. So I think I'm at a stage in life where I like to absorb information and try to learn as much as possible, and I think that will allow me to make good judgments and decisions on the lives of our kids. And
knowledge is power, man.
That's it, man.
That's it. So very good. Maybe if you go back and tell young Anthony, you know, listen a bit more.
Let him have fun.
All right, cool. So we're on our last segment. I'm going to ask you a fan question, and Anthony's been kind enough to bring in some jerseys, so we might get one of those out to the fan who asked this question. So we had a few submitted. This one's from Zach M. And he asked, as a footballer, when did you know that you had made it? Made it was in inverted commas. So I suppose we'll look at when did you feel comfortable that, you know what, I'm a professional footballer and I'm going to stay a professional footballer?
Yeah, I remember when I signed my first contract, our Mariners youth assistant coach, John McClafferty was his name, brilliant guy. He came up to me and he said, well done, I won't congratulate you until you get the next contract, because anyone could get the first. You're basically risk-free on your first contract. You know, the club doesn't have to pay you anything really, and you've got a 1-year deal to prove yourself. So that first contract, I didn't consider it as I've made it. Then the second one I signed for, I think, 3 years, and in that moment I'm like, now I'm a footballer, but I'm very young still. poor wages, really.
Yep.
Which weren't really life-changing. But I was quite established as a footballer. So I don't think there was one moment that I can say this is when I made it. But now, obviously, I consider myself a footballer. You know, I've played many years in the league. I've played a year abroad. I've, played against great teams, great players. And yeah, I don't think it's been that gradual, that there hasn't been a specific moment, but yeah, maybe I don't know, that Barcelona game. If I had to maybe say a moment, by then I had played several seasons. I was quite well known within Australia, at least, and obviously playing against one of the biggest clubs in the world, in front of 75,000 people.
That's where you want to prove it,
in your home city. That's pretty special. Yeah.
There you go. Well, thank you, Zach, for that question, and I'll get in touch and we'll get something out to you, mate. Well done. So, a couple of questions left. If you had to invite 3 people to dinner, dead or alive, who are you inviting?
Yeah, this was definitely a tricky one. The first one that comes to mind, Maradona. Obviously, my idol in football growing up. For his football and also his cultural impact and what he signifies for the people of South America more than anything. Obviously, his football was amazing. He played so freely and he did things on the field that we'll never see again. Obviously, the hand of God, what that represents. But the following goal he scored against England, where he picked it up in his own half and dribbled everyone, including the keeper. Diego is a one-off. There will never be a repeat of him. The second will probably be Mike Tyson. I'm not into boxing by any means, but I've listened to, he's got a podcast actually, Hot Boxing. It's great to listen to. And he's actually super wise. Like, he's a really smart man and he lives life with brutal honesty, which is extremely refreshing to hear someone be so open about their life, their struggles. And with that, he's obviously gained a lot of wisdom, which he shares. And yeah, given that he's, the little I do know about boxing, him and Muhammad Ali obviously are the greatest. So he'll be definitely invited.
And number 3?
Number 3 is a tricky one. I don't know. I might even invite Joe Rogan. I listen to him a fair bit on the way to training. He's met a bunch of interesting people. He's well informed on just about everything. I think if he was at that table with Diego and Tyson, he'll mediate the conversation and, I guess contribute, pretty well. He's an interesting guy. He's broadened his mind to the point where he can speak to just about everyone about a certain topic, and he's kind of marking a generation of men, who listen to him, and just educating at the same time. So I think he's actually quite an important figure at the moment, and definitely be interesting to chat to him.
What a dinner party that would be. Quite interesting.
Bit of everything there, huh?
All right, Anth, we're nearly done. I need to know your best 5 players that you've played with. Feel free to elaborate on your choices, and then we'll go through your played against team as well.
Yeah, so in goal, Matty Ryan.
Yep.
Obviously a great mate of mine. He's an ultimate pro. We went to Vegas together and stuff, and there were days where I'd be by the pool and he'd be in the gym.
Yeah.
He's obviously extremely talented. And he's, I think, been Australia's key player over the last few years. God knows how long. So Matty in goals, definitely. Got it written down here. I've got Bruno Fornaroli up top.
Yep.
We know Bruno extremely well. Another Uruguayan. I remember watching Bruno when he was playing in Uruguay for Nacional. I was maybe 13 or 14. We got up to watch a game in the early morning and he scored a double against Peñarol. And I'm like, this guy he's great. And then a few years later, I got to play with him. And obviously, he's a great goal scorer. And, the way he holds up the ball and brings people into play, I think is, what sets him apart from other strikers.
Yeah.
And he's one of the best I've played with.
Yeah.
I think definitely one of the best the A-League has seen.
Yeah.
Another one who a lot of people probably may have forgotten about, but Bart Schenkerveld, centre back, played for Melbourne City. He just had everything. He had everything. Pace, strong. He could play with the ball at his feet. He wasn't here for that long, but you know, he really impressed me with the short time I played with him. I only played with him for 6 months. When Joyce, obviously didn't play me, so I had very limited time with him on the field. But I saw him in training, and even playing against him, and he was a beast. Definitely a very good player.
He scared me just watching. He was a machine.
Yeah. He just no one would get past him.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah.
And now he's in Panathinaikos. He's been there for a few years, and I'm sure he's doing great.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Cahill, his mentality is like no one else's. He's just a beast. The belief he has, and obviously the way he hits a ball is a joke. I've never seen anything like it.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that impressed me most about him was his mentality. He transmitted this confidence, and he knew he was the guy. Like if you needed a goal, you needed a big moment, it's going to be him.
Yep.
He's done it over and over again in his career.
Yep.
So it was incredible to watch him up close, the way he worked, and just the presence that he had. What's that? That was 3, 4. That was 4.
Yep.
Last one, I've been tossing up between a couple of players. I've got to say Aaron Moy.
Yep.
He is one of those that is different to the bulk of players that we have in this country. He's calm on the ball. He's got great vision. He's great at set pieces. He's obviously had tremendous success. He's been part of the national team, played abroad. And he does all of it whilst being extremely humble and likes to keep to himself and, fly under the radar to an extent. And he's just a consistent performer that has always played well. And I think he's, again, like Bruno, he's one of the best that we've had play in the league.
Yeah. So can you just read me that 5 again, just in order?
So in order, we got Matty Ryan, Bart Schenkerveld, Bruno Fornaroli, Aaron Moy, Tim Cahill.
It's a decent squad.
It's not bad.
Yeah, Schenkerveld's doing a bit of defending, but
he's a sole defender basically.
These teams tend to end up that way. All right, that's a strong squad. Some massive names there. What about best 5 you played against?
Yeah, so this one was probably much easier. Ter Stegen in goals.
He's okay.
He's not bad.
Yeah.
Then we got Dani Alves, which is again the only defender that I have.
Yes. And to be fair, he did a lot of attacking as well.
Correct. Yes, exactly. We got Xavi.
Yes.
Busquets.
Yep.
And Del Piero.
Yeah. I've got to think that team's seen a lot of ball. They're holding that ball a lot. For sure. You're not getting that off Xavi and Busquets at all. So
I was going to say Mbappe also.
Oh, there's a few more names in there.
Probably should include Mbappe. He did score a hat-trick in the World Cup final. So
that's true.
I should probably include.
Well, who are you taking out?
Dani Alves.
No defenders. Mbappe can just roam up.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got no defenders on that team.
No defenders, yeah.
The question I ask is who wins that game? And
between
your best 5 with and against, if they're playing each other in their prime,
come on.
I think you got to go against, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And no disrespect to that team.
No, but look at it.
Yeah, I just don't like Xavi and Busquets are not turning the ball.
Del Piero, man. Del Piero in
his prime,
scary.
Yeah, I just don't know.
I'm picking Del Piero based on what I saw in the league.
Yeah.
And
that's him at the end.
And that's him walking around just bending things into the top corner.
Just for fun.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
It's I don't know if you've got the balance right in that though. Someone's got to sit. Maybe but in a 5 or something like that, Busquets probably sit a centre back.
Ter Stegen will be sweeping at the back.
Yeah, maybe you don't need anyone. All right.
Shout out to Dembele as well.
He's on the bench first up.
Yeah, he was very good when we played against Barcelona.
Yeah.
Both feet. You didn't know which way he was going.
You look at him and you go, I don't think he knows which way.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Either way, and he's put in the bottom corner somehow. So, can you just walk me through that 5 then?
Yep. So when we Ter Stegen,
Yes,
we took out Dani Alves in place of Mbappe.
decent start.
Busquets, Xavi, and Del Piero.
That's some team.
It's decent.
Yeah, but we've done some things, haven't we? So, mate, that brings us to the end. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on and for also donating a prize for one of our lucky fans. So, really do appreciate it, mate, and
Pleasure, man.
good luck for whatever is next.
Thank you.
And I'm sure everyone at the Corner Flag and myself will be watching your rest of your career with a real sense of investment. Hopefully, everyone got to know you a little bit better from this pod, and spread the word.
For sure. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
Later. Thanks.
And there you have it, football fans. That was part B, our away leg chat with Sydney FC star Anthony Caceres. As always, make sure you like and subscribe to us on podcast apps, Spotify, social media, YouTube, everywhere that we are. And please share the love. Make sure you pass the cast around to your friends by sharing this on socials as well. Thank you as always for choosing to score some goals with us. And remember to celebrate with the Corner Flag.